Okay, good morning everybody. Thank you for joining our Matchday -2 media availability ahead of Saturday's match with CF Montréal. We're joined by interim head coach Rumbani Munthali, followed by defender Walker Zimmerman. Coach, Saturday is the first of 3 games in 7 days. Busy schedule coming up. How have the preparations and training gone so far this week?
I think this week has been good. It's been positive. We're gearing into 3 games in 7 days is a lot, but guys have done the work and done what's asked of them and been really positive and receptive, especially during this tough time in this transition. So I'm very pleased with the work we've done this week.
Great. We'll go ahead and start in the room. Ben?
Yeah, Rumba, first of all, I guess this is kind of a 2-part question. How do you kind of describe yourself or maybe your philosophy as a manager? And then kind of from your perspective, what have maybe been some of the struggles the team has had early and some ideas that you have to kind of get things back on track?
Okay, well, for me as a manager, I would like to think that I'm pretty proactive and my teams are a little bit proactive in how that we play. I think that we're not trying to change the wheel here. I think we're trying to put players in the best position to succeed, and so allowing them to use their skill sets to problem solve and to be assertive and as assertive as they possibly can. And so trying to make sure that the players are in the spots on the field and doing what they do best, and I think that will help us succeed. What I think has been a little bit of us not being as in the place that we want to be is I think injuries have played a lot into what is going on. And I think as you start to see players coming back into the team, you see that we're starting to be a little bit more recognizable as a team, and as a national team last year that went on like a 10-game win streak or non-winning streak, but like non-losing streak. So I think that as we get more and more players back and players are able to work and do what they do best, I think we'll continue to keep building on this.
Jacob?
Yeah, Rumba, do you think that you've maybe started to get a different view of just this Nashville SC squad or some of the players and just maybe your evaluations of them, just from getting to look at them from the sideline as opposed to just from your role as a player development coach?
Yeah, so I'm on the field with the guys like every day, so I'm around, so I have a pretty good relationship with each player. At certain times I've worked with each one of them individually or in small functional groups or different things like that. And so I think my assessment of the players are still very similar. I think sometimes you may ask players to do something that they haven't been asked to do before, but I think it's very similar to my preconceived, my notions of what they were before. And so I'm not necessarily learning more about players, just hopefully trying to adjust certain things to make them be a little bit more comfortable or productive.
Claudio?
Rumba, and this team seems to have been, like you already described, kind of a roller coaster all this season, especially in terms of performance in the field and momentum. 4-1 here against this same team, goes to Charlotte and loses the game, comes back here and ties the game. What can we expect for this game, according to what you've seen and the work so far?
Well, I think, there has been roller coasters, and I think there's reasons for it. And like I said, like injuries plays a lot, right? And different people moving into the lineups and stuff. What I would hope is you get a team that I think represents like what the club is, right? Like hardworking, dedicated, I think forward-thinking and positive. And so I hope that's a team and that we put out onto the field, a team that's going to compete from start to finish and put all they can into the game. And so that is what I would expect, regardless of whatever the score is, regardless of who the opponent is. I think that was what you expect from players from Nashville, to be hardworking and also hopefully be defensively sound, right? I think those are cornerstones of who we are as a club.
Gentry?
Yeah, well, when you come into a situation like this, mid-season, games are coming pretty quick. Do you really have an opportunity to put your own stamp on things, or is it more a continuation of what was going on with Gary?
Well, I think that coming in at this point is is a little bit difficult, and so I think it's supporting players, and I think it's the capacity I was brought into the club was to help players through all three properties get better, right? And so I think my role has changed a little bit, but that is still the focus, is getting players to be the best versions of themselves, getting players to get better. And so I think there's a few tweaks that come from me and the rest of the guys who are on the coaching staff that we feel could help propel us into an even more positive position. But I think that guys are open and guys are extremely positive, and we're also allowing guys to have a little bit of input so that this transition period, we can expedite any changes that we can together.
Well, what has been the response among the players? You know, obviously they had one coach for a long time, some of these guys for years. What was kind of just the general response, and how did you address that with them?
Well, I think the general response is they're all professional players, and so it sucks because a lot of them had really good relationships with Gary, and Gary's done a lot for this club, so it's difficult to make that transition and to see somebody go. But at the end of the day, they all have to do their jobs, and we all have to do our jobs. And so guys were very professional about it. Guys were supportive, because also I've been here working with a lot of the players as well, so they know that my goal is to make them better. They know my goal is to help the club in any way I can, and they want to help the club as well in any way they can, so I think that they can. So you have I think a very good attitude of pushing forward and just doing all we can for the club.
We'll go to Blair on Zoom. Go ahead, Blair.
Yeah, Roma, how much, in terms of tactically and technically and setting up the players, is that solely your decision and the coaching staff decision, or is somebody like Mike Jacobs involved in those discussions as well?
It's my decision and the coaching staff's decision. We're on the field with them every day. We know all the variables and all the different things that are going into it, and so it's been us who have made a couple of adjustments, but it was us together.
Ben?
Yeah, and just kind of looking back to the Atlanta game, you mentioned how you kind of want to be maybe a little bit more proactive, and it felt, kind of evident from the opening whistle and probably the first 60 or so minutes. I'm just curious, kind of, when you look at a team like Montreal, who also try to be pretty proactive with how they approach the game, what are some maybe key matchups that you're looking at on Saturday?
I wouldn't say I'm looking at key matchups. What I'm more so concerned about is how we function within the structure that we've set, and putting our players into positions that we can succeed. I think that the way their formation is set up and the way that they play, I think matches up well with us as well. And I think at this point of the season, as of this transition, I think that I'm worried about making sure that we're putting our players in the right spots to succeed offensively and defensively. So I'm more so concerned about us than concerned about everything they're doing. Just trying to make sure that us as a club are in a good spot.
Jacob, good.
Yeah. Now, I guess what would you say have been maybe some of your most relevant, experiences as far as stepping into this situation in terms, because as far as you've been a player development coach, you've been a youth coach with Sporting Kansas City. How similar what can you take away from some of the other coaching experiences you've had in your career?
Well, yeah, I coached. I've played. Being at Sporting Kansas City, I coached the 17s and 19s. So we had a group of players that over that time period we signed a lot of homegrown contracts. And so working with them, working with the first team staff, we were out at the facility. We shared a facility with them for a long time. That coaching staff was very open with sharing information and sitting and talking us through things. And also working a lot with the second team. So I've been in that environment where it's Sporting Kansas City, but also here working between all three entities as the person who's connecting all three properties. you spend a lot of time with professional players or guys who are on the cusp of being professional players. And so that, coupled with, me being here and being present every day, I think lends to a lot of experience on the field. And at the end of the day, there are some differences, and still a lot of differences between coaching the professional game and coaching top academy players, and top academy players are matriculating into the second team or the first team. But it ends up being we have a really good group of guys, and as players want to get coached and players want to get information that is going to help them, these guys are all open to it. And so again, I'm just here to help them get better, and so they've heard my voice for the last 2 years I've been here, and so I think it's still easy to hear my voice, and sometimes it's adding just a little bit more information to what I'm giving them.
Gentry, last question.
Obviously, a lot of uncertainty with the situation for the guys on the team. If there's been one theme or one message you wanted them to hear from you, what has it been?
I think belief, right? I think it's belief that belief in each other, belief in what we're doing, belief in the club, belief in themselves. I think so. That's been the message, that I think that they want to do more, and they can do more, and they can do more to affect each other and to affect the team as a collective.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, guys. We'll be back with Walker in a second.